quick Wednesday lunchtime radar update. So what I call faller on the floor today, we're above the range on all markets agreeing, punching higher on a bit of UK data. Moving on from that, let's just quickly go through these markets. First things first, talked about my view on the markets in the ShareScope articles. So if you want to go to ShareScope articles and have a read through, I view this as a first pullback in a potential bull market in the US, obviously. Now, the US is bullish. The UK is still on the floor, isn't it? So if this is a first retrace and UK markets are going to improve, my focus is on those green shoots and the trends what are already running actually. But from this area especially. Now let's just go back to basics in why it's first retrace. So I'll just put a weekly chart on. If you can't see it on a weekly chart, it's not really going to be that meaningful. So active low, higher low is the the high between those levels. Means a higher high is trading above this high here. So active low, higher high structurally confirms a bullish market. And this is a first retrace and a very orderly one. Also, I'll just sort of highlight here that, a 50% retrace after a move like that is extremely common in efficient markets, be it indexes. So this is business as usual. I think most markets are about between 5 and 7% of all-time highs in the history of the world as well. Don't quote me on that, but I know looks like they're down. The S&P are. I haven't measured it, but the DAX and the FTSE 100 punched. They're probably within 5%. So different markets, different stocks. It's a market of stocks. FTSE 100, DAX. Yeah, it's more kind of dollar cost averaging over time sort of stocks in that area. But if you the part of your portfolio what goes into catching price appreciation in trends in stocks, it's going to be more focused on small caps and the FTSE 250 and the Russell in the US. That's where I'm going to be sort of focused. In the UK, it's going to be AIM and fully listed small caps and some 250 stocks. That's where my focus will be for the UK. So yeah, those markets are pretty beat up. Let's just go through these markets. Active low, higher high, industrials. Active low, higher high, S&P. And look at the action. It's just, yes, it could roll over and die, but it's very normal action. Russell obviously still in this big base. Small caps should be. DAX, 4% off all-time highs or something. Same for the FTSE 100. But then we get into the stocks what really you're going to find the beta and you're going to find the good trends. Stocks that once they made the FTSE 100, they've made it, haven't they? You're not going to ride some of the big trends in FTSE 100 stocks that you're going to ride from the small caps up through the 250 to the FTSE 100. It's the journey. It's about the journey. It's not about arriving. It's about the journey. So yeah, this is where I'm going to find interesting stocks. Pretty normal action here. We've got like this little base within this bigger level here. It needs to punch up through here, doesn't it? To really make people take notice. Obviously, fully listed small caps, AIM market. I don't follow it, but even though I trade mostly AIM stocks, but yeah, it's kind of there's so much crap in there. It's not of interest to me, is it? So that's the technical structure. You know, if you want to read about that, go to ShareScope articles. You will see a lot of, you know, trend lines being drawn on some of these markets. Here's a quick hack. Just go off the low with these trend channels. I'm sure they've got them in ShareScope, in SharePad. Got them in ShareScope anyway. And that's the clearest way of drawing a channel. If you want to draw a channel, just drag this thing out, control left mouse button, drag it out. But start from the low and end on the right hand edge. And that's the trend. You don't need to do any of this unless you're going off onto different time frames. So that is the primary trend. Very simple stuff. Very normal action in the primary trend. Moving on. You'll notice a lot of these 50% pullbacks are inefficient markets. Dead common. Aligning inefficient stocks what can trend with a technically bullish market is where the meat of all returns comes from, doesn't it? Moving on from there, let's quickly jump onto one what's gone through earnings today. W7L. Before I go there, you know, if you like what we do here, FinTwit is a dying environment, I think, financial Twitter. I'm going to share the more meaningful content, what you're going to get a little bit more out of on my YouTube feed. If you like that content, hit the like and hit the subscribe. I'm not sure Twitter will always be a thing. Financial Twitter especially. So, you know, that is my outlet for the good content if you're interested in it. Also, check the ShareScope articles. And obviously there's, you know, a lot of my content is viewable on my website, tradingbasis.co.uk. And obviously there's a huge cache of work behind the firewall there. As for the job in hand, catching trends in growth stocks, we've just gone through the interim on W7L. It's gone through all right, hasn't it? It's some pretty good guidance there. Second half weighted. Let's just revisit where this thing entered our screen, and you know, this is where we do business. We drew a line in the sand here. This thing, you know, without going above this level, it could still be falling, but there was potential cheats over here as we started to build constructive price action and the volume started to enter the chart. Monthly, weekly. It's a 3-day chart there. Breakout. Breakouts, sometimes an event, usually a process. Was a process. Off it went. Now up here, it needed to consolidate. It built a base. Came into mean trend. Pretty normal action. You'll notice the trend started rising on the short time frame, and then a month later on the 200-day or the 10-month here. Broke out this base, first retrace, turned out to be a process. Broke out this higher high, off it went on a journey. This is very common as well. You know, you get a little bit of, after nervous excitement, whatever you want to call it, a transfer of wealth. You know, you might call it that, but everyone who rode this run, it's like a slippery bar of soap, this stock, after this ripping run here. And, you know, 50% off this pullback, that is a slippery bar of soap. It's very hard to hold on to these. Take my brain out. This thing's in trend mode. Ignore the noise. This thing will stair step. I'd never seen a trend what didn't stair step. So, you know, it will do what it will do. The trouble with managing things around here is you don't gain anything. Unless you're selling it and walking away. If you're trying to trade around the position, unless you're sold up here and you timed it with perfection, and this game isn't about perfection in timing. It's so far from that. It's about big winners, small losers. So, you know, the it's amazing how many people, a little bit of off piece there, who get sucked into that. You know, they're a long term investor, and then they get paid extremely fast, and then this is where they start questioning whether they should take profit, and this is where the volume hits it, and everyone pukes part of their position or whatever, and then, you know, you can't buy it back. You're out of it. So, you know, I don't do that. I don't trade around trends. I buy it, and I run the winner, and you know that involves sitting through these pullbacks on the journey. So long as it's you know, the trend is up. You know, if the trend rolls over, it will hit my trailing stop. But my trailing stop's never going to be in that noise. Anyway, this action here, notice it changes the way it trades. You know, it's still really bullish because it's going higher, but it's there's no structure to it now. It's just like, it's kind of just getting a little bit, you know, this is noise in this is orderly structure. See the structure involved, you know, levels are being respected. And then this kind of melt up here is a little bit, you know, there's a lot of changing of minds in this area, you know, buying and selling, and just not really fully consolidating, not really trending either. It's kind of no man's land, isn't it? And we got this pullback, normal pullback to mean trend. This is what we wanted to see. Members at my site were saying, when we're going to get this normal pullback on Warpaint, you know, and there it is. And then, you know, the next thing we talk about is that, you know, on a good growth stock, what's expected to do well, you tend to get this little bit of, you know, a bit scared of going through the results, and then some can go through the results and die on their ass, you know, don't get me wrong, but you will see that, you know, this is just another little hack to add to your sort of psychological sort of desensitization, if that's what you could call it. You got to be desensitized to this stuff, and you will see it drift, and then you will see that run towards earnings. And what do we expect from this? A lot of people were expecting this thing to just go to the moon today. I would say just let it consolidate, and just it's already traded towards these earnings, and just let it consolidate. And for me, there's, you know, I'd like it to coil up here and just consolidate. We might find that this thing gets a little bit of interest towards the close today. That it'd be worth watching it towards the close and see what the bigger players do with this thing. But it might move above here at some point, and then consolidate above. That would be fantastic too. Either way, you know, we don't see any red flags in this. You know, obviously it's one. It's in my top 30. It's a little. It's actually below the gas in the tank threshold I use for a GTRS stock, but this will change. It will tick back up, I think, on these results. But it's a little bit light on the gas compared to what it was when it set off on the journey, and that's why it's trended so far. You know, it's 120% out of that base. So yeah, you know, it is what it is. But what I'm trying to get across here is stocks will trade like stocks. It's, you know, a little bit of choppy action here. Orderly price action could resume here, and that would mean sort of consolidation at some point for the bulls anyway. And I'm a bull. I'm riding it. Trail my stop. Do what I do. Okay, I will leave it there.